A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to all the participants. So we continue with the 27th verse of Surah Al-Baqarah. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Inna Allaha la yastahi an yadriba masalan ma ba'uzatan fama fawqaha فأما الذين آمنوا فيعلمون أنه الحق من ربهم وأما الذين كفروا فيقولون ماذا أراد الله بهذا مثلا يضل به كثيرا ويهدي به كثيرا وما يضل به إلا الفاسقين. So the general translation, as you can see highlighted in red, is that Allah disdains not to give an illustration as small as a gnat or even smaller. Those who believe know that it is the truth from the Lord, while those who disbelieve say, what does Allah mean by such an illustration? Many does he adjudge by it to be erring, and many by it does he guide, and none does he adjudge thereby to be erring except the disobedient. Now for today's lesson, I've only chosen this one verse of the Quran just so that we can focus and identify how we can understand this verse of the Quran better. Inna Allaha, inna surely, inna Allaha surely Allah. La yastahi, he does not hesitate. Okay, if you take away la and just write yastahi, it will be that he hesitates. When you add la to it, it will be he does not hesitate. And why does he not hesitate? And that yadriba, he describes masalan, an illustration, an example, an illustration, ma, that, ba'uza, a gnat. In Urdu we say machar, in English we'll say a gnat. Fama, so that, fawqaha, over it. Now please remember that this is split word. So don't try to make sense of what we are reading right now, because this is word by word. But when we stop here, فَمَا فَوْقَهَا, and we look back at the general translation, right, it stops up to here, okay? Inna Allaha la yastahi an yadriba masalan ma ba'uzatan fama fawqaha. Allah disdains not to give an illustration as small as a gnat or even smaller. Right? So this makes sense straight away. But let's look at the split word again. Inna Allaha, surely Allah, la yastahi, he does not hesitate, he does not disdain, and that yadriba, he describes masalan, an illustration, ma, that, or when you're doing the translation like that of, ba'udha, a gnat, fama, so that, fawqaha, is over it. But then when you look at this in the general translation, it will be or even smaller. Fama fawqaha, where is it called here? Fama fawqaha, or even smaller. Right? So fawq means above something, greater than something, right? So here we have to remember that Allah the Almighty is explaining that he does not hesitate to give an example like that, or as small as a gnat, or even smaller than that. You know, it's not a big deal to Allah the Almighty to explain, to give an example. But when you look at the split word, fama is so that, fawqa ha, over it. This ha is referring to the ba'uza, ba'udatan, which is a gnat. Right? So Inna Allah, surely Allah, la yastahi, he does not hesitate, and that yadriba, he describes masalan, an illustration, ma, that, ba'udha, a gnat, like that of a gnat, fama, so that, fawqaha, over it, or in brackets, like it, or even smaller than it, even greater than it, right? So hopefully everybody's understood the example given here. Then Allah the Almighty explains, fa amma, fa, so, amma, fa, so, amma, as far, as for, fa amma, as for who? Allazina. So as for those who, allazina is the plural of allazi. So as for those who, amanu, they believed. Amanu, they believed. Faya'lamuna. Fa, so, ya'lamuna, they know. So you can see here, ayn lam mim. This is the root word, ilm, alama, ya'lamu. So ya'lamuna, they know. Faya'lamuna, so they know. Annahu, that it. Anna, surely. Okay. But if you translate it as annahu, surely it, or that it, both are fine. Annahu, that it, al-haqqu, the truth. Min, from, rabbihim, Rabb, Lord, rabbihim, their Lord, rabbihim. Wa amma, and as for, wa and amma. So look, the first, if you remember the first one was fa amma. So as for, wa, amma, and as for. So fa and wa are very, very similar. فَيَعْلَمُونَ, so they know, annahu, that it, al-haqqu, the truth, min, from, rabbihim, their Lord. Wa amma, and as for, allazina, those who, kafaru, they disbelieved. فَيَقُولُونَ, fa, so, yaquluna, they say, maza, what, aradallahu, Allah wanted. So maza aradallahu, what did Allah want? What did Allah want? Bihaza, with this. If I take away just to give you an example, haza is actually a very common word in Arabic. Haza is this, haza kitabun. This is a book. Right? So haza is very, very commonly used in Arabic. So in English we say this is, when you introduce somebody, you say this is X, Y, or Z, or this is this thing. So this in Arabic is haza. So Allah the Almighty says, maza aradallahu, what Allah wanted, bihaza, with this masala, with this illustration. Masalan, an illustration. Yudillu bihi. Don't worry, we'll repeat it a few times, inshallah. Yudillu bihi. So let's break this down. Yudillu bihi. He adjudges many to be erring with it. Right? Bihi. Bi is with. He is it. Bihi, with it. Right? Bihi, out of the way. Yudillu. He adjudges many to be erring. Yudillu, we cannot say that Nauzubillah, Allah the Almighty, he makes, to err means to make a mistake, or he makes other people make a mistake. We cannot comprehend that meaning. So the translation that has been used to properly use it for Allah the Almighty is that he adjudges many to be erring. And hopefully that will make sense to you, that obviously Allah the Almighty cannot purposefully make somebody make a mistake. But this is almost the post mistake, that he adjudges many to be erring with it. Kasiran, many. Wa yahdi bihi kasiran. Now this yahdi is obviously the opposite of yudillu. Wa yahdi bihi kasiran, and he guides many with it. Wa ma yudillu bihi, again yudillu bihi has come again, and none, wa ma, and none, bihi, wa ma yudillu bihi, and none he adjudges to be erring. I forgot to write with it, bihi, with it, illa al-fasiqeen, except the disobedient. Hopefully everybody is with me so far. If we just quickly go back to the translation again. Inna Allaha la yastahi an yadriba masalan. Inna Allaha, surely Allah, he does not hesitate. La yastahi, he does not hesitate. And that yadriba, he describes maslan, an illustration, ma, that, ba'uza, like that of a nut. Fama fawqaha, so that over it, or when you translate it generally, or even smaller, or even greater, right? Remember, by greater, it will not mean greater than the nut, but a greater example, right? So if, we have to understand that Allah is explaining that if somebody says that Allah the Almighty can only give an example of ba'uza, of a nut, so Allah the Almighty says that he does not hesitate. He doesn't worry or care about what people think. If he needs to give an example even of a nut, he will not hesitate. Or fama fawqaha, or even smaller, or even greater than that of a nut. Okay, this is what this means. فَأَمَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. فَأَمَّا, so as for. Fa, so, amma, as for. Allazina, those who, amanu, they believed. So as for those who believed. Faya'lamuna, so ya'lamuna, they know. Annahu, that it. Al-haqqu, is the truth. Min rabbihim, from their Lord. Wa amma, and as for allazina kafaru, and as for those who disbelieved. Kafaru, they disbelieved. Now what I will do is I will try to mix both the split word and the general translation, just to make more sense on an understanding of the verse that we are studying. Wa amma allazina kafaru, and as for those who disbelieved. Kafaru, they disbelieved. Fayaquluna, so they say, or they will say, Maza aradallahu, what did Allah want? Maza, what? Aradallahu, Allah wanted. Right? So what did Allah want, or what Allah wanted? Bihaza, be, with, haza, with this, masalan, with this illustration. So Allah is saying, if you break down the verse into different parts, then it will be easier for you to understand. First, Allah the Almighty is making a claim that he does not hesitate, that he describes an illustration, that of a nut, or even smaller. This is the first thing he explained. Then Allah says, what will the reaction be of those who believe? فَأَمَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا, so as for those who believed, فَيَعْلَمُونَ, so they know, أَنَّهُ الْحَقُّ, that it is the truth, min rabbihim, from their Lord. So that's the first party, those who believe. Wa amma, and as for allazina kafaru, those who disbelieved, fayaquluna, so they say, maza aradallahu, what did Allah want? Bihaza masala, with this illustration, by describing this example, or by describing this illustration, what did Allah want? They, as if they're almost challenging the wisdom of Allah the Almighty. So Allah then says, Yudillu, this is the last part. Yudillu bihi kasira. he adjudges many to be erring with it. وَيَهْدِي بِهِ كَثِيرًا, and he guides وَيَهْدِي, and he guides bihi, through it, kasira, many. وَيَهْدِي, and he guides bihi, with it, through it, kasira, many. وَمَا يُضِلُّ bihi, and وَمَا يُضِلُّ, and none he adjudges to be erring bihi, with it, illa al-fasiqin, except the disobedient. Inshallah, tomorrow at 6 p.m. again. We will meet for the class tomorrow. Until then, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.